morning, fellow members of the board, stakeholders, and fellow employees. We chose a provocative cover and theme because we believe that we need to communicate and lead to make people think and act in this time of crisis that faces us Filipinos and the rest of humanity. That our world is warming, particularly at an unprecedented rate, is already borne out by data as well as scientific discourse. Compared to the 1880s, the world, as the chairman described, is now 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer. However, this number can be misleading because it is a global average, and averages tend to lull us and hide extremes. The Arctic was a full 14 degrees Celsius warmer than normal last fall, due to a phenomenon that scientists call the Arctic amplifications, where the conditions become much less Arctic much more quickly. Less than 60 days ago, in March 2017, there were 23,000 square miles less ice than normal. And for those of you who are familiar with real estate, that's 59 billion square meters. When you compare that to 2015, which was already a low average from a previously low year. Speaking of extremes, the Philippines ranks 5th in terms of the list of most at-risk nations to the ravages of climate change, which includes sea level rise, the kind of issues caused by the Arctic meltdown, as well as typhoons, having been visited by 283 typhoons between 1996 and 2015, based on the latest report by German Watch. 8 of our most deadly, damaging typhoons have happened in the last decade. We believe we have no time to waste and to turn a blind eye in the hope that others will do their part. Businesses can and should no longer greenwash and trumpet corporate social responsibilities projects while at the same time making fundamentally wrong choices that will have the most severe impact on those with the least resources and resiliency. Our strength in EDC has always been in making the right choices, starting with that of providing 100% clean and renewable energy. What sustains us is knowing that what we are doing is what is right for our industry, for our country, and for future generations. In so doing, though, it is imperative that we maintain a strict balance between our environmental stewardship and our responsibility to you, all of our stakeholders. Our business sits at the intersection of doing what is right, pursuing what is needed, and going where the world is headed. Globally, there is a shift towards cleaner, renewable sources of energy. According to the report made by the United Nations Environment Programme, global investments in RE capacity reached $286 billion in 2015, that's dollars. This was more than the $130 billion allocated to the combined spend on coal-fired power generation and natural gas-fired power generation. For the first time in history, majority of the investments went to renewables. And for the first time, developing countries led the way, with renewable energy investments increasing by 19% that year to a total of $156 billion. This may surprise a lot of you, given what you read, but China is particularly keen on RE, boosting its investment by 17% to $103 billion, as they cut their own coal production and ramp down numerous coal-fired power plants to below 50% capacity factor. This type of assets are now getting stranded, and we expect the same phenomenon to reach our shores. Let me now talk to you about the company's recent performance. In 2016, we posted consolidated revenues of $34.2 billion, slightly lower compared to 2015. While our sales volumes increased to 8,531 gigawatt hours, these gains were offset by lower average electricity spot prices of $278 per kilowatt hour in 2016 compared to $337 in 2015. The fact that the wholesale electricity spot market was at a 5-year low meant that we took a hit on our uncontracted capacity. Both our Bacman and Nasolo power plants combined were only 61% contracted as of last year. It is for this reason that going forward, we will contract more aggressively. As of today, Bacman is already 85% contracted, and Nasolo is at 57%, which we expect to be fully contracted by year-end. However, despite our flat revenues, EDC posted a 4% gain on recurring net income attributable to equity holders, amounting to 9.2 billion. This performance was better primarily because of the 1.7 billion reduction we realized in operating expenses. This was mainly driven by lower controllable expenses, lower steam field maintenance expenses, and slightly lower insurance costs. Our first quarter of 2017 financial results, which we uploaded to the PSE this morning, are also showing encouraging signs in terms of achieving our targets for the year. Our first quarter revenues stand at 9.6 billion, 5% higher than last year, and correspondingly, our recurring net income attributable to EDC is now at 3.2 billion, or 19% higher than the same period last year, again on account of lower capex and slightly higher electricity prices. Let me now discuss to you what we're doing in terms of operations. We've been investing in our assets to boost reliability and efficiency. Addressing the natural challenges of our reservoirs is a continuing endeavor, and in 2016, we were able to improve steam generations from our steam fields through measures that include applying and utilizing some technologies outside the geothermal industry. 2 years ago, we also completed the rehabilitation work on our 130 megawatt Bacman power plant, increasing its capacity in the process by 10%, its efficiency by 6%, which combined led the net capacity factor of Bacman to go from 62 to 98%. 3 Leyte power plants are next in line in terms of what we want to focus on. First is the 232.5 megawatt Malitbog power plant, which had its control systems replaced in 2016, thereby eliminating obsolescence risk and many nuisance trips. The 112.5 megawatt Tongonan power plant, which began its major upgrades in equipment in 2016, boosting its output by 10% and its efficiency by 9% by the time it is done this year. And third, the 125 Upper Mahiao power plant, the single largest driver of our opportunity costs, with ongoing upgrades of turbine rotors and cooling systems using new metallurgy. With these programs in place by the end of this year, we expect higher levels of generations in the year to come. In terms of operating expenditures, OPEX decreased in all sites given the focus that we put on it last year, with the exception of Burgos Wind, where operating and maintenance costs increase due to higher levels of generation. In Burgos Wind, OPEX increased by 17% because of our payments to our maintenance contractor, driven by an increase of 27% in its sales volume. The sales volume of the 6.82 megawatt Burgos solar projects 1 and 2 also nearly doubled on their first full year of operations, improving on their combined revenue contribution to 92 million. On our Mount Apo geothermal business unit, we also saw an increase of 6% in revenues, mainly due to increased generation. At year-end 2016, Magbu's sales volume of 827 gigawatt hours was the highest it has ever been in the past 5 years. Speaking of Negros, despite the excess supply in a grid that only has 291 megawatts of peak demand And this excess supply is due to the presence of 391 megawatts of solar, driving down the WESM prices. Our Negros Island Geothermal Business Unit posted record revenues of 8.2 billion due to increased contracted volumes versus 2015 and a decrease in operating expenditures. Let me now discuss with you growth and the challenges we've been having with it. Over the past 2 years, with the prices of coal, the main baseload competitor of geothermal, plummeting from $94 per metric ton to as low as $44 per metric ton, and this is Indonesian Kalimantan coal that's imported to the Philippines, it has been challenging to grow the geothermal business. There has been a shift in the pricing of coal driven by changes in natural gas supply-demand economics. Natural gas from shale gas reserves in the United States can now be produced at a break-even price of just $29 to $39 per barrel, down between 40 to 60% from just 4 years ago due to improvements in technology. In effect, shale gas has now created a viable substitute for oil and has set a competitive price cap for both oil and coal. These market dynamics, in combination with rapidly reducing solar panel prices, are providing downward pressure on power prices even here in the Philippines. For this reason, geothermal has to change its economics in order to compete in this new market and this new reality. For those of you who are not close to the industry, geothermal in the Philippines has only grown during two energy crises. First was the OPEC embargo of 1973, and second were the crippling power outages of the 1990s. Going forward, though, geothermal needs to develop absent crisis conditions, and this will only happen if drilling costs drop, success rates of drilling improve, cost of new plants decrease, and operating expenses go down. We actually have fields that can be developed both in Bacman and Mount Apo, but these require lower cost structures to compete going forward. While we have made some modest gains in reducing our OPEX and improving our drilling success rates with the help of new technology, much more needs to be done. It is against these imperatives that we will put all our efforts going forward. We have also grown our solar business in a rational manner. Only in areas where we see a good match between what we bring to the table and our customers' needs, we have decided to proceed with developing solar projects. We had a good debut in the solar rooftop industry with the signing of the 1 megawatt power purchase agreement with the Gaisano Capital for their La Paz Iloilo Mall, so far the single largest PPA solar rooftop in the country. Incidentally, what Gaisano really wanted from us was the assurance that rain or shine, we would back up the energy, which we are capable of doing because we have geothermal backing it up. This now is the largest PPA in the country, and we completed it in last December. The project is expected to offset 770 tons of CO2 annually, and today provides 50% of the mall's daytime load. As of today, an additional 7 solar rooftop plants are being constructed on various malls, with an additional total capacity of 3.7 megawatts. Not too long ago, we had but one technology, one product, and one customer. Today, we've transitioned and have made investments in 4 technologies: geothermal, which continues to be our core strength, hydro, wind, and solar. We also now have 57 customers, something we expect to only increase with time, particularly when retail competition and open access finally take off. We've also been working with first-gen energy solutions to sell renewable energy to enlightened corporations such as members of the global organization called the RE100, as well as some local companies that have decided to be powered exclusively by clean energy. Over time, and with further advancements in technology driving down costs, we see the share of renewable energy increasing. The International Energy Agency, or IEA, reports that global energy-related CO2 emissions were flat at just 32.1 billion tons for the third straight year, even though the global economy grew at the same time by 3.1%. The IEA credits this 100% to the entry of renewables. What is important to note is this, that growth in the economy, growth in any economy, growth in our economy is possible even without increasing emissions. And if only we deliberately make the right choices and increase the share of RE generation, then it's logical to imagine that the global economy can actually grow while at the same time reducing its emissions. We at EDC are keenly aware of our responsibility to grow geothermal energy, given we are the global leader. We need to communicate these benefits as the cleanest baseload energy available. Let me pause briefly and show you our ads that have come out and are coming out on ANC and CNN. Can you please show the ads?
It's clean and uninterrupted energy.
We have 24/7 healthcare.
Umaraw man o umulan, non-stop ang operations.
Banking anytime I like.
Serving businesses all day, all night.
Convenience every time. Tuloy-tuloy ang production.
Providing comfort any time of the day.
I'm connected all the time.
This!
With clean, renewable energy, what possibilities can you imagine?
Imagine clean energy that can keep businesses going, hospitals open, airports running. Geothermal energy generated by the Energy Development Corporation. Using the Earth's natural heat, it can power us 24/7, day and night, rain or shine. Geo-energy powering infinite possibilities.
We at the Lopez Group, and especially EDC, have resisted the modern gold rush towards coal as we look towards securing a sustainable future. For us, the only acceptable energy choice is one that does not harm our environment and our people. We do not believe in making the wrong energy choices, then attempting to offset these with CSR projects and the token tree planting. Every single ton of carbon we dump into the atmosphere will affect us all, and most especially those who are vulnerable and least resilient, those who do not have the resources to build back better after a storm. Carbon emissions are threatening our world, but together we can tap our Earth's clean energy. We thank you, our shareholders, as you continue to put your trust and confidence in us. Together, we can move forward and craft a cleaner 24/7 future for us all. Thank you and good morning.